country's level of human and economic development is closely related to its levels of achievement in physical and social infrastructure. While physical infrastructure is an important determinant of domestic production, good social infrastructure is vital for human development as well as economic progress through better educated, better skilled, and healthier citizens. Hello, everyone. You are listening to Industry Wired Conversations, your front row seat to founder journeys, leadership insights, and the real stories behind how industries run. Now, in spite of some improvements in infrastructure in recent years, India still ranks 89th in basic infrastructure as per the Global Competition Report 2011-12. This indicates poor development compared to other countries of the world. The poor state of infrastructure, stretched to limits by the growing population and increasing regional and rural urban disparities, implies that major improvement in physical and social infrastructure is absolutely essential to sustain further progress and high rate of economic growth. Joining us today is Sourabh Kumar, founder of EcoPath, who began Pothole Raja, a citizen led initiative that repaired over 35,000 potholes across Indian cities, scaled to rupees 20 crore plus in revenue, and gained national recognition, including a feature on Shark Tank India while all being bootstrapped. Hi, Saurabh. A very warm welcome to our podcast today.
Hi, Priya. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here on your podcast.
Likewise, Saurabh, it's a pleasure to have you on our today's episode. And of course, I think the conversation today that we'll be having is going to be very much interesting, considering, the initiative that you have started with and discussing the overall infrastructure development in the Indian context. And we would, of course, like to know more about the idea behind Pothole Raja, how it started, what's your vision and mission behind it, and without wasting any further time of yours and mine and of course of the listeners, my first question directly would be to what originally sparked the idea behind Pothole Raja, and give us your insights about your journey also till date, sort of a little bit about more information about you would be really great.
Sure, Priya. So, when I started my first venture, Pothole, that time I was working as a IT professional. Before I started that, I was software developer working at HP, and then a news article which really disturbed me was accident because of a pothole and somebody losing life. Now it really made me uncomfortable that how is that in our society we still have not so good roads in a very bad condition, and yet we see no accountability. So that is a thing which actually disturbed me a lot, and I decided to do something about it. When I started to do something about it, I had no understanding how to deal with this because I have no background in civil engineering. So all I could understand, I could do was to do reporting of the issue. And that's how it started. I very soon realized that reporting is not only going to solve the problem, but it has to be dealt in a different way. That's where I started, I got my hands dirty, and eventually I started fixing potholes. So that's how my journey in my first venture started. And over there, as you mentioned, I in eight citizen led drive, very fulfilling as a journey. And then eventually, I innovated a product from a recycled plastic, and which was there on Shark Tank as well. So that's my initial part of the journey of my career as my first venture, which I started
Great. That's a fascinating journey, Saurabh, I must say. And I think it's often these real world problems that lead to the most impactful innovation. What starts as a simple attempt to solve one everyday challenge can evolve into something so much universal and build a solution that is very much scalable. And I think a Pothole Raja is a great example of this evolution. Moving ahead,
yes.
I think one of the most fascinating aspects of entrepreneurship is how a simple problem-solving initiative can evolve into a much larger mission. And many successful ventures begin by addressing a specific challenge. But along the journey, founders often uncover deeper systemic issues that require, I think, a more transformative approach. Now, in the infrastructure space, for example, what may initially appear to be an isolated problem can often be a symptom of, larger gaps in planning or materials or maintenance. So, recognizing these underlying challenges often becomes the turning point that shapes the organization's vision and direction. So, when did you realize that fixing potholes alone wasn't enough? And what was a larger issue of the infrastructure itself that you found out that this is something that is meant to solve?
You're absolutely right, Priya. I mean, when I started, it was more about maintenance, fixing potholes, and ensuring that repeated issues don't occur. But somewhere down the line, eventually, I realized that creating something which is long lasting is far more important. It's not that fixing pothole is not important, but creating infrastructure which lasts longer and requires less maintenance is going to be the game changer. And in this, one more thing, because I've always been oriented towards sustainability, using waste in the construction ecosystem. That is where the entire narrative in my life changed. That at when I was even conceptualizing EcoPath, the name itself was something which originated from this concept that how do we turn waste into meaningful construction material, and we do construction using waste which can be far more efficient and stronger. So that's the vision with which I started, and it all came from my understanding of solving the first problem, that why are we not able to create something which is long lasting. And now when we're talking about long lasting, what are the materials that we have to look into? Is it the same traditional material, or we look into something which is different and better than the traditional material? So my journey transformed with my first venture, which gave me insight of what more can be done and what more should be done. So that is how the journey shaped up.
Definitely, Saurabh. And I think, with context that we are discussing, fixing potholes may provide immediate relief, but creating that resilient and future-ready infrastructure requires rethinking, how roads are planned, built, and maintained over their entire life cycle. And I think it's often the defining moment for many leaders, the realization that addressing individual problems can only take you so far, if the underlying systems remain weak.
Yes.
Great. Now, I think, despite today's constantly evolving economic environment, many organizations continue to operate the same way as they have been doing for hundreds of years. Our consultants have seen this. Business as usual approach have caused a variety of business challenges across strategy or the working methods today or the overall organizational structure. Now, since the problem that you have been solving, or your problem because of which you started EcoPath, I think that's a very traditional industry we are operating in. So what challenges did you face while entering such a traditional industry that have always been used to very unconventional materials and approaches?
Okay. So this kind of industry actually demands for a lot of proof, because innovation is something which comes at the last when it is about construction segment. Nobody over here is willing to take risks, try new things. So what we had to do is we had to prove a lot of things while we were showcasing a new tech, which is making infrastructure without cement. So we had to do a lot of pilots. We had to do make roads which are working, traffic is moving with continuous data capture, ensuring that there are no impact, convincing certain client on sustainability, because somewhere it was a slightly easier route for us, because people who were convinced on our tech which is going to reduce their carbon footprint, they were willing to take that slight risk. I have found two type of people in this industry. One is completely non-risk taker, and there is a segment which understands that new tech has to be first deployed, studied, and then we can take it to the larger scale. So I'm thankful to both the parties, because both of them have pushed to our limit, and this is what has brought us wherever we are today. So One segment was that we'll give you an opportunity, you please showcase it, but you have to first submit the proof. So what we had to do was we manufactured material, we got it accredited, we got it validated from, proper NABL accredited labs through consultants, who understand new tech, whose words value a lot. So we have done all those things like, working with Bureau Veritas, we are working with State Rent Labs in Bangalore. We work with Christ University, IISc Bangalore. So all these validations actually helped us to deploy our solution faster.
Right, Saurabh. I think that makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. And I think again, challenging some long established industry norms is rarely easy, especially when you're introducing those new materials and processes that require customers and stakeholders to rethink what they already know. And that's when, that proof of concept comes into a picture where it's important that we prove the performance through some real world applications and demonstrating that innovative materials or processes can deliver both reliability and commercial value.
Right.
Great. Now, I think, with what we said, my next follow-up question is something with what you just said. While breakthrough technologies often generate excitement, their true success is ultimately determined by how they perform in practical environments. For businesses and industries which are looking to embrace these new materials, the key question often revolves around measurable outcomes. I mean, they want to understand whether these innovations can withstand real world conditions or deliver cost efficiencies, without compromising on the performance. So, what kind of real world impact have you seen, probably in terms of cost or durability, with your materials?
Oh yes. So this is actually a very exciting space, Priya, to be really honest. Clients demand superior materials, client demand, prices which are competitive. So, for my first entrepreneurial background, I knew that we have to be ticking both the boxes. It can't be just one box. Or if let's say we are adding some value, we have to work with material which is superior, which outperforms whatever the traditional infrastructure is currently building with by using cement. So the methodology that we adopted was deploying in real world scenario, because for anybody who sees a PPT, they always clap saying that you're doing a wonderful job, but the work orders or the purchase orders are not given just by seeing a PPT. So what we extensively did was we did massive deployments with clients that I had from a very long time. We started doing deployment and we started doing it at a competitive price. So our USP has always been delivering sustainability at a cost benefit to the customer. Nowhere charging more, because primarily we believe that at the entry level, if sustainability comes at a cost, there'll be very less buyers. So we went to our R&D, we went to our factory, we optimized, and we brought it down to that level which competes with the traditional world. Now, by default, the material that we manufacture has better strength, better durability characteristics, which makes it more long lasting, which the industry also understand. Basically, the end user or the client who is the paying customer, they also understand that yes, geopolymer concrete, as cement concrete, made out of industrial waste, if done well, has far more better performance than the regular cement concrete. So we enjoyed that, but we won this game and we have been winning this game until now because we were able to compete with the traditional pair. So we keep that as our standard and as our benchmark even as of now. So that has made the difference.
Right, definitely. And I think, when organizations are increasingly seek solutions that are not only high performing, but, also commercially viable and sustainable, the conversation shifts from just a scientific possibility to a more practical implementation. And again, understanding how these materials or any such breakthroughs, deliver that measurable value in everyday life is becoming more important than ever.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Now my next question is something based on the macro prospect of, considering the Indian landscape. We all know that India's infrastructure sector is expanding at a very rapid pace, and with the increasing urbanization, with, a lot of predictions saying that by 2030, almost 70 to 80% of the population will be living in the urban cities. So I think infrastructure investment is also growing, and it's important that the investment should grow. And more than half of India's urban infrastructure, till 2030, I think they will include housing, electricity, transportation, waste management. All of these systems have yet to be developed to accommodate that boost of urban population. How should India rethink its infrastructure development to balance that growth and ensure sustainability and long-term resilience as well?
See, we're talking about long term and the speed at which we are, constructing. We have to be prepared towards what will take us to construct at such rapid pace. And over here, what I personally believe is precast is the solution, and we have to utilize more of precast into our construction methodology. It is only then where we will be able to compete with the global standard, and we will be able to cater to the rapid urbanization that we are seeing right now. If we continue to do the construction in a traditional way, we are going to lose time and money both. That is one of the reasons why we are also investing heavily into precast and ensuring that it moves from a normal engineering to a precision engineering. I mean, we all see news that comes out from with the Western world, how China is building at super fast speed. Now, if you see, most of the work is done at the factories. At the site, it is just assembly. So when we look into that, we have much more better controlled environment. Like I'll give you an example. I live in Bangalore, and in Bangalore, there is no forecast that can tell us when it is going to rain. Even though we have a weather forecast that we see rain like untimely. It can rain at 12 o'clock, it can rain at 4 o'clock, it can rain at night, even though the weather forecast would be no rain today. Now, how do you control all this rain? And what we are dealing with is concrete. Now, in concrete, it is not done at a controlled environment. It actually results into far more dangerous result. It breaks. It costs more if it is not done well. Then it costs more for us to read the entire world. So over here, my thing is we have to look into better methodology, and in better methodology, precast is the solution which can take India forward in much faster pace. Along with this, of course, we have to invest in skilling our manpower, which are currently in this sector. We find very less manpower who are in the category of skilled resources. We have a lot of unskilled manpower, so we have to invest in training them as well, so that we are able to see better result. We see faster construction, we see quality construction, and we are able to cater to the demand. As you said, I mean, we are seeing a rapid urbanization as of now. So we have to look into this side, and we have to invest more in that. Is it going to cost us a little more in the beginning? For sure, yes. But the moment we are doing it at scale, we will see far more better results and cost saving in long term than the way we are working in traditional construction methodology.
So definitely, I think your response really broadens the conversation beyond simply to building an infrastructure that is more inclusive, future ready, and smarter. And I think, of course, India is going to, is on its journey to becoming a multi-trillion dollar economy. The scale of infrastructure required is also unprecedented. Again, the real challenge lies in ensuring that this growth is not achieved at the expense of environmental sustainability or long-term economic resilience.
Absolutely, absolutely, you're right.
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons, we are witnessing these challenges in terms of building our infrastructure is there is a lot of changes happening in the climate scenario as well. You mentioned about, you gave that example of, the kind of climate variations we are witnessing in Bangalore. And the kind of technology still, you can't predict. Why? I mean, do you think that a lot of changes are still needed at the policy or industry level to accelerate the adoption of an infrastructure that is much more climate friendly?
No, of course, yes. I mean, see, any country which starts manufacturing or constructing in a more sustainable manner definitely needs a push from the policy. Because what happens is any sustainable infrastructure or any sustainability related topic material service initially will cost more because it has never done at scale. So some policy level engagement is mandatory so that there is a push to the adopter and they get the benefit. They understand that the government is also supporting because eventually it is proven that if we do follow a better sustainable approach of building things, of using material, the long-term benefits are much higher. But people are not willing to take risk because it is directly connected to the finances. And this is where policy and the government comes into picture. For example, I'm really glad that the Indian government has finally approved the CCUS program, which is around 19,800 crore rupees. So it will incentivize the steel and the cement industry to decarbonize their ecosystem. This is something which the industry would really appreciate because now they can invest more money in putting efforts, ensuring that they are able to control their carbon emission. They're reducing the carbon footprint by trying adopting new technology. Earlier, there was no incentive. It was just something that they had to invest from their pocket. Whether it is successful or not successful, it's always a question mark because it's a new tech. So policy level dialogues, policy level intervention, faster rollout of policies, better support from the government. These all will ensure that we are moving in the right, we move in the right direction. Answer that policy is extremely important. It is going to be the backbone for faster adoption of sustainable infrastructure.
That's a comprehensive perspective, Saurabh. And I think when policy frameworks and the right financing mechanisms, along with a very certain regulatory market, when all of these things come together, I think they can, significantly accelerate the pace of sustainable development. And as countries all over the world, they are working towards that ambitious net zero targets,
Right.
kind of infrastructure decisions we will make today will shape the future of energy security and economic growth for decades to come.
Definitely, definitely. This is how it has to be built. Otherwise, we'll be far behind. We'll the speed of growth that other economies are actually going through.
Great. So I think our conversation has been pretty much interesting, and I'm towards my last question, which is more of a personal question that what kind of legacy do you hope to create through your work in the infrastructure and sustainability department?
Oh, very interesting question. So the legacy that I want to create is I really want people to start taking risk in this space with a very positive attitude that there is an adoption if you do things right. If I coming from a background of first a software engineer having no background on how the road construction happens, how the road maintenance happened, transitioning into material science and creating products for the infrastructure or construction industry, which is completely without cement. If I can do that, there are enough people in the market, experts who can jump onto this industry and create something which will be extremely, extremely important and good for the mankind. So that is the kind of legacy that I want to leave. That start taking risk. If we don't attempt, we are not going to create something new. And it's not mandatory that we are going to be successful every time. But if we don't try, we will never see what next we can do. So that is the kind of legacy that I want to leave behind for people to start building things which are pro planet and pro people.
Thank you, Saurabh. I think the infrastructure is very much crucial for India's economic growth and development. And as a country aims to become a global economic power, it definitely needs strong infrastructure. And I think it has been, your insights has been very much valuable, Saurabh. We are really happy to hear your perspective on the evolving role of infrastructure and sustainability with your leadership also, your insights on leadership in shaping the future. And so today's discussion highlighted how businesses and industries must balance growth with responsibility and immediate priorities. Thank you so much, Saurabh. We really appreciate you taking out the time to join us and share your experiences and vision. And we look forward to seeing the continued impact of your work in shaping India's infrastructure landscape. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Priya. Pleasure interacting with you. And I hope it creates some sensation in the industry and we see more solutions coming out this sector.
Definitely, Saurabh. Thank you so much. So, this is for our listeners. I hope you enjoyed today's discussion around infrastructure development, the kind of impact we need to create to ensure that, in the decades to come in the future, our infrastructure should be climate friendly with long-term resilience and ensuring that we are also emerging as a global economic power. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes, and you can view all our previous episodes on Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Thank you so much.